Hello, it's the preview show. It's John Gibbons hosting this week, and I'm joined by Kev Walsh and Adam Melia to look ahead to Liverpool's next Premier League game, although we've got to wait all the way till Monday night. I was thinking about their game last night, although West Ham did play last night to give us a little bit of a clue of what to expect when they do come to Anfield. And if last night's anything to go by, Adam, it's, don't hurt us. If we don't punch them, they won't punch us really hard.
Yeah, they had all their defenders and Antonio. I think that was the plan. And maybe they were pleased-ish in the context of only losing by that many. I don't know. I previewed the West Ham away show a few weeks ago, and things haven't changed very much in my mind in terms of Moyes and the idea of getting him and the idea in practice. So, yeah, I think they will. We saw exactly what they're going to do last night. They've got these two games in a row. Sometimes we've seen teams play us and then City, or City and then us, and it is almost like one's a bit of a practice for the other. So you'd expect them to be sort of well drilled and maybe hold out some resistance for a while. Maybe they're hoping that we've still got an eye on Madrid, or we've kind of taken our eye off the ball a little bit, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I had a little look at the XG from the game. It was 0.09, which I think it means at one point they had a look at the goal.
Yes, they went into their half, maybe.
It just suggests that Moyes is going to go into this very much thinking, if I can get a 0-0, great, but if not, then never mind too much, think about the next one.
It's David Moyes all over, and every time he plays against a big team, regardless of which club he's at. We done it at Everton for years, didn't we?
Yeah, they used to go mad, the Evertonians, didn't they, without they'd approach big games.
They didn't. I don't think they won against a big 6 team or whatever we were classing it at the time for something like 15 years under Moyes, or whatever, however long he was there. And then the second Roberto Martinez come in, he beat United away. Against Moyes it was, ironically enough, wasn't he? When he done it. And you'd think he'd eventually go, do you know what? Sometimes you're as well getting a couple of 4 and 5s in a season to get 1 point, even if it is literally just 1 point. Because if you're giving away 6 away games, and probably in reality, if you're going to play like that away from home, you're probably playing similarly at home to these teams. You're talking about a third of the season where you're basically expecting no points and anything's a bonus, which is okay if you've then got the ability to sort of get your head back into the game and go and play, I don't know, like a Norwich or someone next week and think, yeah, that's a comfortable 2 or 3-0 win. But they're not like that at all. And under David Moyes, I don't see how they ever are going to be. The irony with Moyes is at the moment, like when he come into West Ham, one of his best quotes he did, which I loved, was, I'm a winner, it's what I do.
Yeah.
And then someone come up with the stats, and it was like 25% wins ratio, 33% at Everton or something like that. And he's just following it right through now. And he's in a, I've saying they're off here, they're in a period of the season at the moment where every week it's another big team. So to play us, 2 games or 3 games won the Premier League, then to have Man City, and then to have us again. It feels like a joke, that, doesn't it? Like someone's saying, you can see West Ham fans going, is this even allowed to happen? And the next run of fixtures is no walk in the park either, so they're in very serious danger.
I don't think there's that many walking. So I think it's the difference now between what Moyes is facing and what he used to face. There's not tons of dross, I don't think, in the league, really. There's a few teams like Bournemouth who sort of maybe make it a bit. They're like a nice team to play, but there's not even Norwich. You see bottom of the league. They're not awful. I don't think they played quite well. So I'm struggling to see where West Ham or where Moyes, if he's planning his attack like he used to, planning his assault on staying up. He's obviously given up the big games, as we've said. But them easy points, I just don't think they're there really this season.
West Ham needs to play. West Ham. If they could play themselves, they'd be absolutely flying.
Like on Street Fighter.
Honestly, that's what they need to do, because that's the only way they're getting 3 points at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom of the form league, Kev, and 18th in the actual league. And what needs to be a worry for them is what Adam just said, is that those other teams around them just look like they've got a bit more about them. So they're 18th, Watford are 19th on the same number of points on goal difference. But Watford, are in a decent run of form. You'd fancy them to win those sorts of games that you've just talked about, the ones that West Ham, the third bottom, but it's like you must be looking around and thinking, well, those other teams, you fancy them to go on and run more than us.
Oh, 100%. And the thing that West Ham have got against them now is another thing. We just had the winter break, so if if you're in a position whereby, so say obviously we're going to win the league, but if we're in a position where you're going to fight for it, you can sort of reset and say, right, we want to put all our ammunition into going for this now, and you can get everyone G'd up and around you, and everyone fighting with the same mentality. You can imagine Watford have gone, because they had a good little run, didn't they, and a little blip, so you can imagine Pearson's got his troops in and gone, listen boys, we done well there, what were we doing then that we weren't doing in the last 3 or 4 games? That's what we're going to concentrate on. And you can imagine them G'ing the players up and everyone saying, yeah, come on, we've got this. We've got it like an upward trajectory. Well, you can imagine everyone at West Ham going, what the fuck is he talking about? He's saying the same things he's been saying when he was last manager 18 months ago, and he's doing it again now, and it isn't working. So where are we going to go from here? As I say, I think they're in serious trouble.
I think what Kev's saying is exactly right. They haven't got like a bank of evidence to say, do you remember when we did this together? Let's do that again. Whereas, you know, Watford definitely have had that. I think Bournemouth are in that phase now. I don't really rate Bournemouth very highly, but they're sort of doing that now. So if they do dip again, like they've sort of done, haven't they? They're like a win 5, lose 5 team, Bournemouth. They can say, well, remember when we won 5. So they'll have that. And the teams that probably haven't, Newcastle, again, you know, you can see them dipping, but they've sort of got something to cling to. And Villa probably haven't. They've just been unlucky all season, played quite well, but been unlucky. And Norwich, you say, probably haven't got enough. But yeah, West Ham are the ones that you think, I can't even really remember them at any stage being any good at all. I'm amazed they're 18th.
I mean, what they did do over the Christmas break is they got a couple of coaches in, I noticed, Kev. So Kevin Nolan has gone back there, someone else as well, whose name escapes me, and you fancy that a bit to try and G everyone up a little bit, but I don't know if it's that sort of squad there. I think if you're Felipe Anderson, you're looking around going, this is rubbish, you're not going to go, oh no, don't worry, Kevin Nolan's here to tell me to run more.
I like Kevin Nolan as a player,
no,
but
I don't think he's like...
I 100% agree with you. You're looking at the likes of Felipe Anderson, and at the start of the season, which shows what I know about football, I suppose, I was sort of touting West Ham to have a good season and maybe be challenging a little bit further up the league. And I was probably thinking in my head, they should be challenging for the way with the squad that they've got. Fabianski's a very good goal. Well, not a very good goalkeeper, but he's definitely not an 18th place goalkeeper, put it that way. They've got Felipe Anderson there, they've got Aaron Creswell. Declan Rice is... Listen, he's Lord's another place. I don't necessarily think he's as good as people are making him out, but even yesterday against Man City, he showed a few flashes where you think there's a player in there. They've got loads of players like that. Like up front, they've got players who, if he has a manager who has a bit more of an ability to, instead of just rabble-rouse, which Moyes seems to have even lost that now, but someone who can put a plan in place to say, listen, you're my main man. Felipe Anderson's the one, isn't it? If you can get him on the pitch enough times to say, we build around you, Declan Rice, here's what we're going to need you to do for him, and then going forward, this is the plan. You just don't see Moyes necessarily picking one of them players out and putting all his eggs in that particular basket, and unless he tries something different at the moment, you don't see any change in results.
Yeah, there's a negative atmosphere around the club, isn't there, Adam, in that they largely don't like the owners. They're annoyed at the stadium, in that they said, oh, I will move there if you do all these other things you're going to promise, and then none of those other things materialise. So they've got a stadium they don't like, they've got owners they don't like, and all the players are doing their heads in. And so with other, as you say, you mentioned a few of those before. You meant Bournemouth, you gave the example of, you know, there's a lot of goodwill for the manager there. You know, the players they like, they're just sort of out of form, and so you can come together, you can recognise there's problems, say, well, there's these problems that need sorting, but we can come together for this. I just don't really see West Ham doing that. No. Because of all that.
Yeah, I know. And you think of all you know, different sorts of clubs where they seem like the same problems. They sort of managed to forget about them in the summer.
Yeah.
Everton do this a bit, but I mean, they're having an alright season now, aren't they? And then halfway through the season, it's like, oh, there's that again. I remember now. I don't like the stadium. I don't like the manager. I don't like any of these. So I think it is. They're a prime candidate for that, and I think it's sort of typical of a team that stays in the league. You don't really get that with teams that are going up and down. So the signs are ominous, because, as you say, you just can't really think of one thing to pin your hat on, if that's the saying.
I liked it. Neil Atkinson's going to pin his hat on some tactic sports now, and then we're going to come back and talk about how we think Liverpool should approach the game.
West Ham, then, we have a body of data. That's always exciting, isn't it? We have what West Ham did against us very, very recently. And then we have what they did against Manchester City on Wednesday night. So what did they do against Manchester City on Wednesday night? Well, coincidentally, it's the same as what they did against us a few weeks ago, and it makes me think that we're going to get the same thing again when they come to Anfield, unless this is a remarkably elaborate double bluff from David Moyes. It's two left-backs. essentially. It's Creswell and Masuaku over here, Ogbonna pulling this way, so it almost looks a little bit like a back three. He almost plays left-sided centre-half as though that's the case. Over this side, they started with Fredericks against Manchester City, but he went off injured on the hour mark, replaced by Zabaleta, so let's presume Zabaleta starts this one. Diop in there. So that takes us along our back five, where these two sort of take turns to do bits and pieces and join. Creswell probably more narrow and becoming the third centre-back in a conventionalist shape, but realistically, when they get on the ball, they'll be around there rather than anywhere else. That's what we saw last time we faced them. Declan Rice in there. Oh, Fabianski in goal. Declan Rice in there. Almost certainly the snod over here, doing his thing, looking to take wicked set pieces against the mighty boys in red, as he loves to do. Now, Mark Nobes, nowhere without him, will run around the pitch in that way in which he does, and if he gets on the ball, we know he's got quality, but it's him getting on the ball and being able to live with Liverpool in midfield is the key question. Now, it was Souček behind Antonio at City. If I was David Moyes, I would go back to Haller and put Antonio behind him. A couple of reasons why. One, I think it would suit Liverpool to defend Antonio in the space, the idea of him just running directly in behind. I think it would suit Liverpool less to have to track him as a runner from a more attacking midfield position. The other reason why was Haller actually got a little bit of joy out of Van Dijk winning the headers. So I think that those two things make me wonder if Antonio's got a work rate, he loves to get in, he loves to get involved. So don't do Souček, do Antonio and bring Haller back and look to hit the big man and see if you can pick up little scraps off the back of him. As I said before, I thought Haller did well. But that's the West Ham lineup. It might be Souček, it might be Haller, it will be Antonio. It would be a real mistake not to play him in general because he is so difficult to deal with. As I say, I'd be really surprised if it isn't the snod, Declan Rice, Mark Noble, the two left-backs, Masuaku and Creswell, Ogbonna, Fabianski, Diop and Zabaleta / Fredericks, depending on how it goes. Isn't it nice when you've got really good information to work with?
Thanks to Neil for that. We're obviously back in the room with Kev and Adam. And Kev, I mean, the biggest problem in these sort of games, you know, is talked about being complacency. That's what people say. In that sense, you know, maybe the Atletico result won't be the worst thing in the world in terms of looking forward to this one because they'll feel a little bit wounded, won't they? They'll be a little bit kind of put out and they'll want to, you know, I mean, they'll have to wait for the home leg to put it right completely, but in terms of their emotions and how they'll feel and they'll want to put on a show against West Ham.
Yeah, but even with, I've said it time and time again this season with this Liverpool team, there's leaders all over the pitch, but I always go back to the same couple. You just don't see Virgil van Dijk, Jordan Henderson and Mo Salah letting anyone let the guard down against a team like West Ham. There's just no way that they're going in thinking, these are rubbish. We've already beat them once this season, Man City's beat them. They just go out there and they just smell blood. Like Mo Salah especially, because of how competitive he is and he wants to score goals. He wants to be top goal scorer in the league on his own this year. But there's loads of things driving each individual player on. And as a collective group, they're so hardcore in what they do. Everything they do is with 100%. That Atletico game the other night, one of the issues I felt was we were going too like gung-ho at times. I thought maybe just see if we can just try and draw them out a little bit. But we were just trying to bombard them, which 9 times out of 10 that'll work for you. And if we do that, what we did to Atletico, to West Ham, we scored 5. But Atletico Madrid are a world-class team at doing what they did. So I don't see any Liverpool player letting complacency sneak in at this time in the season when they're thinking there's a league to still win, obviously, and they want to win it with all the bells and whistles, the 100 and odd points, the unbeaten season and stuff like that. But also, there's a European Cup there, and Klopp will have been banging it into them. You will not get back into the rhythm in the European Cup if you take your foot off in the league.
Yeah, Jordan Henderson won't play in this game, Adam. We don't know the extent of his injury yet, but it seems very unlikely he'll play Monday. But you would imagine he would have probably chose to kind of shuffle up the midfield, you know, anyway. You know, the midfield that you play away at Atletico Madrid isn't necessarily the one you want home to West Ham. So there's an opportunity for someone to come in there and play probably alongside Fabinho and Wijnaldum to maybe give us a bit more of an attacking edge.
Yeah, I was surprised while the game was going on against Madrid that Keita didn't come on. I think a few people have said that. I can sort of see the logic in it now. You know, we're a couple of days after, but I think this is the sort of game where that kind of a player, you know, sort of a line breaker when you'd imagine there will be lines to break. That will be a really handy tool to have. And I mean, Henderson's been fantastic in every sort of game, so let's not sort of play it down. But you know, the intensity that he brings brings might not be as necessary. You'd think against the team that will, we've talked about, maybe they probably play dead. They'll probably be looking at the Atletico game and thinking, well, we can do that. We can do some of that stuff. And you know, no disrespect to them, but they haven't got the players to do those sorts of things. And those things that we know are, you know, occasionally kind of kryptonite to Liverpool. The only, well, we say it's kryptonite because the only thing that really seems to be able to stop us is that kind of mixture of being able to play act a bit, so our physical side doesn't manage to come out, and being, you know, having a crowd and a ref on the side. Them things are just not going to be possible for West Ham to recreate. And I think that, as Kev said, that we will put them under relentless pressure for 2 or 3 periods during the game, and you just can't imagine. You can't imagine, even if the first 2 periods of unrelenting pressure don't work, that will, as we used to maybe in previous league challenges 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that used to get under our skin and do our heads in. In this sort of game, actually, West Ham at home in 2008, 2009, the crowd would be, you know, would be a damaging impact on Liverpool, and that's just, we're far away from that now, and there's you just don't see, even if it's 85 minutes really, you don't see panic. You still see us winning. What would you do with the midfield, Kev?
I think it's probably Fabinho. Personally, I'd leave in there because he's been out for so long, and I'm not saying that sometimes he struggles with fitness, but 80 and 90 minutes into a game, sometimes with Fabinho, you have to look at him and think, have your legs gone a little bit? So the more you can get into him now, especially if we're going in for if we get past Atletico, we've got big games in the European Cup. I want as many minutes in his legs now, where you can then maybe take him out of the team or rest him for the next couple of games. Keita, obviously, as Adam said before, regarding, I thought he would have come on against the Atletico Madrid. He's exactly the type of player you want if a team is sitting in 2 banks of 5, which is exactly what I expect West Ham to do. So then you've probably only got one position left, and Wijnaldum, he's probably the experienced head in there, but I might be tempted to just take him out and say to him, just have a little breather, because he never stops when he does go. And last couple of games, I don't know whether it is tiredness or whether it's rhythm, because he's as susceptible as anybody to having the break in and getting back in, I suppose. So I may be tempted to even a Lallana in there, you know, someone with a little. He's not someone I'd normally pick, but he's in a game like this, he's someone who's got the vision for a pass, but can also go past somebody, not necessarily with his pace, which pace is not really any good to you if the team's sat that deep. So I think I'd go for Fabinho, Lallana and Keita, which is very attacking, and obviously if they do have any sort of attacking intent there, it leaves a lot on Fabinho. But I think you're going to be looking at Gomez and Van Dijk as effectively central midfielders in this game, because they'll be that high up the pitch, and their pace up front, listen, it's there, but I don't think it matches our pace at the back. So I wouldn't be too worried about what they're going to do. I'd probably go more all-out attack.
I don't think the plan against Atletico was to take Sadio Mane off on 45 and Salah off in the 70s. But I guess from a positive looking at this, you know, they'll be fresh, but also raring to go. You know what they're like in terms of personalities. They want to, you know, the two of them will want to back up one disappointing night with a good one on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was really disappointing, and maybe the key moment of the match when you see Mane not coming out for the second half. The commentator said it, and I didn't believe them. Actually, I know you were there, John, but he said, "Are we hearing, you know, Mane's coming off because Origi's warming up?" And I said, "Yeah, he'll come on. He might come on, but not now." And then it happened, and I think that you don't know what's happened in that dressing room, but it's a real disappointment, and maybe, as Klopp said, it's a sign of them not trusting the ref, not to send him off, not trusting the Atletico players, not to try and get him sent off, and or maybe Mane really was wound up. You know, the couple of things that the yellow card,
smashing the dressing room up at half time.
Because the thing he gets the yellow card for looks soft, but he does have his arm up, and then he does have his arm up for the second one as well.
I thought that with the second one, he sort of put himself into a position where I thought, why is it that shouldn't? Because
they all go up and you think, oh, look at them, and then you see the replay and it's like, actually his arm's up. So there's part of me that thinks Klopp might be kidding on a bit there, and he's thinking he's seen the same thing we've seen and thought the ref might see that at half time as well. So I think that you're completely right though, and I liked what we were saying before about Salah and the goal scoring chart, whatever it's called.
He's got a chart in his house. Moves himself up. He's got Salah's face on. Moves himself up every time he gets one.
The top 40. every Sunday at 4 o'clock. So yeah, Salah will have his eye on Christmas number 1 or whatever. So no, he'll want to be top scorer in the league, won't he? And I think he'll have that in his sights. And this is the sort of game where you can rack up them sorts of goals, and he'll expect to get chances, and he will be putting them away. So yeah, absolutely. And I think with a creative midfield, as Kev mentioned, there's part of me that wonders whether he might try the one-man midfield of Fabinho and then Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, you know, the full-on sort of gung-ho thing. But I quite like the one you picked with Lallana in it as well.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Yeah, if anyone see anything apart from a Liverpool win?
You can be made a fool on these shows, as I always say, but they are terrible and we're fantastic. I know we've had a little bit of a wobble, but as you said, we're going to use that to give someone an absolute hide, and unfortunately West Ham, I think it's going to be you.
Yeah, I mean, you can look foolish on these sorts of things, but Liverpool haven't made us look foolish very often in the last year or so. I mean, it's hard to imagine they will on Monday.
I think if we had some West Ham players on this, they'd still be saying Liverpool wins.
Mark Noble going. Gonna be hard there, you know. Take 2 now.
I reckon David Moyes would say that. This is their team talk. He's going to play this in the changes.
Maybe, I've not seen the insert. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's Neil having a chat with Moyes. Moyes is like, I'm like a little back board. You'll know, text in if that happened. We're confident, you should be confident as well. We might have had a blip in the Champions League, but Liverpool go back into the Premier League on Monday, and that's where we know what they're all about. Thanks a lot to the boys for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope that it's...